Welcome to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined, with your host, the one and only Betsy Tinnervin. On this podcast, we bring you people who share their personal journeys in life, business, and of course, real estate. Get motivated, inspired, and priceless information from entrepreneurs, community leaders, and realtors who are thriving. Now let's get raw and real. Here's Betsy.
Welcome to the LPT Realty All-Stars radio show. I am your host, Betsy Tinnervin with Tampa Bay Investments. I have three great, amazing guests here. We are going to talk about tons of cool stuff today. If you're interested in entrepreneurial lifestyle, health and wealth, and then, of course, investing in real estate, we have a special guest who's going to be here talking about inspections and the importance of protecting your asset from the front, and then also if you're a flipper, selling it on the back. The first person that I'd like to introduce today is Miss Jala Ibrahim. And Miss Jala is an LPT realtor. And the coolest thing about her and I is how we met. Right, Jala?
Definitely.
How did we meet?
We met biting each other's head off.
That is so the truth. So I was the listing agent. Jala was the buyer's agent.
Yep.
And we had issues throughout the transaction. What happened?
Oh my God, what didn't happen is the question. We went from changing lenders after a few days to having inspections that needed to be done like 24 hours before closing, literally. And then we had to extend it 2 more weeks and then ran into every problem in between those 2 weeks just to get it to closing.
And it's hard, right? Because you are representing the buyer here and I'm representing the seller. And so it's tough because you did amazing. Like, I thought that the whole issue that did occur, like kind of between you and I, is because we were advocating for the people we were supposed to advocate for, right?
Correct.
So why is it important from your standpoint? Well, then the cool part, we got to leave them with some goods. The cool part is then we became super cool. She was like, you did a great job. I was like, you did a great job. We got to the finish line. Everyone is happy. And then I said, Jala, there's this amazing place called LPT. It's like Never Neverland. Come over and play with me. And Jala said, yes, I'm coming. And now we're cool. And we're like a part of the same brokerage. And we're going to do a bunch of business together. So that's pretty awesome, huh?
Yeah, no, this is totally exciting. It's everything that I was looking forward to in a brokerage. So I've been waiting a long time to have something like this.
So why is it important for someone to call you to represent them as a buyer? Like, their property's on the market, there's a listing agent, they could go direct to seller. Why is it important for someone to call you, especially when they're buying an investment property, and have you represent them as a buyer's agent?
Well, honestly, first and foremost, you should never want one realtor representing both sides, just because, you know, who are they really for? Are they for the seller or are they for the buyer? So whenever you're going and approaching somebody directly with the sellers, one of those things, buyer beware, right? So you have to be aware of everything. Like, you need to know your rules, laws, everything that comes into real estate. And that's why it's important to have a realtor, because they can maneuver through all of that for you without you having to deal with any of it. You just want to be able to sign some papers and know that you're being covered.
100%. And I think that people have that very confused. I mean, obviously, just like in any profession, there's some people that are great. There's some people that are good and average. I know that you for sure did your due diligence because you were asking me for all the goods. Yeah. Betsy, give me the leases. Betsy, let me see the documents.
Yep.
So I think that that's awesome. I'm glad that you're here. I appreciate you. We'll circle back with Jala later in the show. And then we have Mr. Johnny Thompson.
Hello.
And Johnny, you just love working with me, don't you?
I do. It's always interesting and always fun.
So we call Johnny on the spot. That's what you are, Johnny on the spot, because we call Johnny and we put him on the spot all the time. What is your company, Johnny?
Southern Hospitality Inspections. I go by Soho Inspections.
I have probably vetted out, fired, and probably irritated to the fullest, if that's the proper terminology to use on the radio, 15 inspection companies.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm tough a little. I got a little thick skin. But yes, for anyone that knows me, they're laughing because that's like such an understatement. However, I think it's really cool how you operate, Johnny, and your background. And I would love for you to kick it off with that, because I think that you're not just a home inspector. So Sure. Who are you? What do you do? Where'd you come from? Where were you born? What's your social security number?
Johnny Thompson, born and raised right here, St. Pete, Florida. My entire background is all in construction, commercial construction, residential construction, pretty much every aspect of it, framing, drywall, everything. So it definitely is good to have a background and something that you're inspecting an entire house on.
So can you do it yourself? Like if I said, Johnny, frame out the kitchen, take down the supporting wall, could you do that?
I'm going to say, Betsy, we're going to have to cancel some of these inspections you got me doing. But yes, I can do it.
Awesome. And so why are you important? Like we have this real estate transaction. The realtor is the whole wheel. We have all the experts and they're the spokes. We have to keep everything together. So why are you important?
Because when you're going to look at a house to purchase a home, you're going to see if your king size bed is going to fit in the room. You're going to see if your couch is going to fit over here. You're not looking at the electrical panel. You're not looking at the water heater. You're not looking at the roof. You're looking at the color of the roof to see if it matches the paint. That's about it. And that's where we come in and dig into the guts of the house and see what's really going on.
And I think that a big confusion, and I know that like Jala probably knows a little bit about this too, is investment properties, right? So people hear home inspector. They don't hear like real estate inspector. Can you change the name legally in the Webster's dictionary? I don't like home inspector because I think it's so important that if you're buying a duplex, a triplex, a quad, even 5 units and up, so we have the resi and the commercial side, I think it's super important to get an inspection. Why?
Oh, 100%. Because you don't know what's been done. You don't know what's going on behind the walls. You don't know anything that's happened. All you see is just a surface, and you really got to dig in to see what's going on behind that.
And Jala, do tenants report issues? Yes or no?
It depends on which type of tenants, honestly. Most of them will not. Most of them will not even complain or say anything. Next thing you know, like, your house is destroyed. And then you're like, what happened?
And so I think it's important, where I was going with that was to have an inspector come in if you're representing the buyer, or obviously you do listings as well, but since we're focusing on inspections, to have the investment inspected prior to your client buying it.
Absolutely. 100%. I've even run into issues where I didn't inspect and ran into like $10,000 on top of that I had to add to my flips. Like I didn't do that proper inspection that I needed to do. And there's more money that comes out on the other end of it when you don't do that inspection.
And I think that what's really important too, Johnny, is that people have options, you know, when it comes into what type of say that 3 times fast, inspection. What type of inspection they're getting. So we'll touch base on that later in the show. Stay tuned for that. The one and only Miss Mosley. How are you, my friend?
I'm excellent. And how are you?
Good. Miss Katrina. The coolest thing about Katrina is that she's also an LPT realtor. And again, circle of life. Like, have you ever seen the movie The Lion King where it's like, oh, that's what you're like for me. Oh. You're that, like, they hold Simba up in the air and, like, the sun shines and all the trees are, like, blowing. This lady is so cool and so awesome, and I want her to talk about herself. But just so you know, we have people in the world, in the entrepreneurial world, and we get caught up in the hustle, man. Like, we get caught up in the hustle. We're not consistent. We go to the gym, whatever. But you do all these cool lifestyle things.
Well, I think we get caught up in the busy. And in getting caught up in the busy, we lose a lot of who we are. And when we lose a lot of that essence, I think then we become transactional, right? And that's the thing I love most about real estate. It's about relationships. You saw in me what you are. Like that's you, girl.
No, I think I'm the Simba. You're the one holding the Simba up, though.
Oh, okay. But that's a great description, because your energy, you walked into a room and I was like, man, that's a woman I want to be in relationship with.
Thank you.
And that's the beauty of this industry, is that we don't work against each other. We work with each other.
I think that what's really cool, just to backtrack, because she's being like really humble, is that you have run real estate teams, you do buy and sell stuff, you have hit record numbers as an individual agent by yourself. So you're also with LPT.
I am.
And it's cool because we all know that LPT is this new brokerage. We just hit 1,000 agents. We're taking over. However, every one of us, you, me, and Jala, just collaborated. And it feels like we've known each other forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. It's that oneness. Yeah, so we can be anywhere and know your tribe, and you're stronger together. But
I think that for you, I think what I really wanted you to tell people is just how you keep that balance, because I think that's what makes you really strong. And going back to what you just said, you were talking about, hey, I had a cool vibe and you wanted to be, around me. However, I think what's really cool is when you know your strengths and weaknesses. And I am terrible at work-life balance, girl.
Okay.
Like, if I was like laying naked in bed and someone ripped the sheets off, that's what my work-life balance is. I'm horrified.
That's great.
I'm mortified. Like I will be like 100 or 0.
Okay.
There's no like yellow light for me. It's green or red. I'm either up at 5:30 at the gym doing my jam. So it was cool when we talked the other day because you're like, Betsy, I want to contribute, blah, blah, blah. That for me, I think makes you such a strong businesswoman because you really do have inner peace, inner self. Talk about that.
I work for it. There's days I'd like to lay in bed too, but I fight for it. You know, consistency is key in anything. And so for the last 8 years, since 2014, I have been consistent in one thing, going to my mat. It started as a yoga practice 15 years ago, 7 years ago, developed into something different. And I go to my mat early in the morning. You know, they say the way you begin your day is the way you win your day. So starting early in the morning, even when I don't feel like it, has helped me really develop a stronger meditation practice that has led me into feeling grounded and being able to handle the influx of real estate and the energy highs and lows.
When we come back from our break, we are going to go in depth with Miss Mosley, and she's going to give you all the goods of work-life balance. Jala, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, shout out your number real quick.
813-770-8699.
And Johnny.
727-637-2591.
And after the break, we're going to go in depth with Miss Katrina Mosley, so she will say all her contact information. Tune in, come back, download the iHeartRadio app, and we will see you after the break.
The best comp plans ever in stock and revenue share, but if we're not closing real estate transactions, all of that is worthless because ultimately everything starts with a real estate transaction, which starts with a consumer. And so we wanted to arm our agents with the absolute best technology and best marketing tools to do more real estate. And that's, again, I think a big differentiator. I think very few brokerages really sit down and say, how do we provide tools to make sure that our agents can be more productive, sell more real estate, win more listings, win at more listing appointments, help more buyers find that home, and we're very focused on that. And so while we have the best comp plans and the best ways for agents to generate wealth and earn, we also have the best tools, and more importantly, I would say have the best tools to help you be successful in real estate.
Welcome back to the LPT Realty All-Stars Radio Show. I am your host today, Betsy Tinervin. And I have some awesome people here, two amazing LPT realtors, an inspection company that I've worked with for a while and fully vetted out. We basically wrapped up before the break talking to Miss Mosley. I love saying Miss Mosley. I can say Katrina, but Miss Mosley sounds cool. Miss Mosley. About basically health, wealth, and lifestyle. I basically said that my work-life balance was terrible. I want to touch on two things. One, we have 3 business owners sitting here, right? Because I think people have a false perception about real estate. I think they think I'm going to get this real estate license. No. You're no longer an employee. You're an entrepreneur. You're a business owner. You get a 1099. So no one says, hey, Jala, you didn't show up for work today. You have to get up, set your schedule, map out your life. And then no one says to me, Miss Mosley, you didn't get out your yoga mat, Betsy. What do I do? How do I fix that?
Yeah, well, you have to just want it. You have to want, I think, the peace more than you want the chaos. This industry can be very chaotic. So I got into it 2 years ago. I knew that I wanted to run my business, not let my business run me. So I knew I had to bring my lifestyle into this business. So before 9 a.m., it's personal. It's meditation. It's family time. It's workout time. It's reading, and then breakfast. Come 9 o'clock, it's business. And I bring the personal into business through my energy levels. And I deeply believe we are responsible for the energy we bring into a room. And that's with clients.
But
that's
let's
with
be
our fellow
real,
agents.
though. What happens if it's 8:35 a.m.
Yeah.
and you have a $30,000 commission on the line and you're on that yoga mat, sister?
At 8:30, I'm actually at the gym lifting, and my phone isn't even with me. So I do not take it to the gym.
Okay.
So I don't check my phone until
I respect
9,
that.
because 30,000 at some reason will disrupt my peace if I chase that, you know? So
I respect that.
Yeah. Good call, because 2 years ago, asked me, I would have, probably have taken the $30,000 call.
So how do you think that, because you're so disciplined in self-growth, how do you think that benefits your business as a realtor?
Well, it gives me the ability to really relate with people, and it's a relationship business. So meeting them where they are and seeking to understand as opposed to be understood. So not telling them what I know, but listening to them so I can understand what it is they need and how I can help them. So that makes me pretty choosy on who I'm going to work with, just because I pray about who I'm going to work with, and who I need to serve comes my way. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that it's really awesome. I think that everything we do is relationship built. I think that you can learn a real estate contract. You can't teach sales skills. You can't teach trust. Trust is not teachable, it's earned, right? So I think that that's really cool. I appreciate all the guidance. If you had to say one thing to me, Jala, or Johnny as business owners, or any business owner listening, and they want to get into self-growth, a little bit more discipline, where do they start?
Oh my goodness, begin within. Begin within. Start with you. Start with carving out time for you, because don't let someone else's urgency be your emergency, because you got to fight for yourself.
I love that. Wait, you got to say that one more time.
Yeah, don't let somebody, it's not my quote, right? We're borrowing words.
I know, but I love that.
Yeah, so don't let someone else's urgency become your emergency, because someone else will run your life and run your business. And remember, entrepreneurial solve problems. They don't run businesses. We solve problems. And so putting that hat on and knowing, and then running your business with integrity. That's it.
I like it.
Okay, so tomorrow,
I
am not going to let anyone's emergency. Is that how it is?
Yeah, urgency.
Urgency be my emergency.
I love that, and I'm gonna check in with you tomorrow.
And it's so funny because Juliet, my assistant, is staring at me in the booth right now, going, "Liar, pants on fire."
But here's
I
the
promise
thing.
I'm gonna try, dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try. Okay,
It's a practice, right? So commit to it. Set your intention for tomorrow. You're gonna need to stop and remind yourself throughout the day, because it'll present itself to you, right? Someone will need you urgently, and then you need that power in stopping, taking that deep breath in, and going, "Is this what I need to address in this moment?" Be mindful about it. You'll get the answer, and then keep going.
And Johnny, you're Mr. Swole guy. Do you go to the gym?
Yeah, I try to go. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
How many days a week do you go?
Almost every day. Well, 4 to 5 days.
Look at him blowing it off, Katrina. I don't know, every day. Okay, so you take care of yourself, right?
Yeah. But, see, I eat McDonald's for breakfast, so then I have to go to the gym for 2 hours to compensate for it. So
my
it's
God.
it's a fine balance.
Katrina's about to have a heart attack.
I am too.
Jala just fell off her chair.
I'm not judging you,
Listen,
friends.
I'm on the road all day, so it's very difficult for me to,
Let's talk. Let's talk.
Listen,
Meal
okay.
prep. Meal prep. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, but then I don't have a microwave in my truck.
I know,
so
but you know what I've
I'm making
done?
a lot of excuses.
Now,
for that.
hold on, Johnny. Though this is where I put myself on Front Street.
Yeah.
You can ask Juliet, my assistant. I am very good at adult Lunchables.
Really?
Okay, I swear to God.
This
And
sounds
I'm
good.
great. I'm great at doing that because we're in the car so much. One, I'm always prepared for a gas station bathroom, so I have disinfectants, Lysol. I have everything in my car to make a whole tent around the toilet and wiped out every wall.
Perfect.
And then I also have adult Lunchables. And the reason why I do that is because I found the gas station thing super tough. Even if you try to find something good in there, it's probably expired and disgusting.
difficult.
So what I hear you saying is you have the gym thing down, but you're not good on the food tip.
Oh no, I eat absolutely horribly. It's.
Well, I need you around. I cannot have you at cardiac arrest and have a clogged artery on my home
That's
inspection,
what blood
man.
pressure pills are for.
Johnny. So I think that it's cool though. I think that this group of people, I always like to get people together on this show. I think it's cool because I am going to kind of use Katrina. I always want to call you Katrina to really kind of take a look at my work-life balance and what I'm doing. And I think that's really important to my business. Yeah. So are you going to connect with her?
Oh, it sounds like she's going to beat me if I don't connect with her.
Okay, perfect. What do you think the hardest thing is right now, Johnny, in the whole world? We had the whole COVID shift, right?
Yeah.
And we have all these different changes in being a business owner. In this real estate space, in your business, what's the hardest part about it?
The hardest part, some people are still, kind of very skeptical. You don't know. The weirdest thing about shaking hands, you don't know if people want to shake your hands or not at the client thing. The COVID kind of made things easier for me on my side because a lot of my clients don't even show up half the time because they're not even here. They're not even in the state. They're buying homes from out of state. So that part's kind of, a little easier. Just talk to them on the phone and walk them through it. And that makes it, a little nice on that end. They're not there, so it's kind of a little easier in that aspect.
I also think cost.
Yeah.
I think for all of us, we don't get paid per hour.
No.
So are people getting irritated that you've had to kind of raise prices due to gas and all this other stuff?
So I didn't raise my prices till the first of the year, and it was very minimal just to kind of
What is the
compensate.
cost of a regular inspection?
My baseline with a 4-point and a wind mitt is $525 to start, and then it goes up with square footage, pool, and all that stuff from there.
Okay. And so cost really hasn't affected your business?
No, because the normal person doesn't really know how much they cost to begin with, so they don't really know what you're going to tell them it's going to be.
I know, but Johnny, don't you drive a big old truck?
That is horrible on gas.
How much does it cost to fill up your gas tank?
$100. And it's about every 2 days.
Okay, now Jala really passed out. Like, she passed out.
It's horrible.
So I think that's awesome that you've had to kind of control cost. I think that now I'm going to kind of flip it over to Jala to kind of play into that, which is how much does it cost, Jala, for someone to have you represent them as a buyer?
Nothing.
$0.
Zero.
No way.
Zero.
And explain that.
So typically the listing side is who pays for the commission. So the seller is paying at both sides of the commission. So being represented on the buying side, you do not pay anything.
So let me get this clear. FREE for free.
For free.
You are going to look at a property. You're going to vet out someone like Johnny. You're going to help them find a correct lender. You're going to connect them with insurance. You represent buyers for free.
For free.
How much does it cost if they ask you, Miss Katrina, to represent them as a buyer?
It's free.
I think that that's just great.
Right.
And obviously I know that, but for all the listeners out there, I think that you guys have a very misconception when it comes to hiring a realtor. On the buy side, if you are looking at buying, investing, or doing any of those things, you can contact Jala or Miss Katrina. Jala, how could they contact you?
813-770-8699.
And what area do you primarily work in?
Tampa and surrounding.
Okay. And Miss Katrina, how could they contact you?
Cell phone 813-210-0633. And I am Carrollwood, especially.
But you like Carrollwood?
I do. I live in Carrollwood. I love in
How long
Carrollwood.
have you been in Carrollwood?
Since 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool beans. That's awesome. And then Johnny, we've now established. Oh, you don't get to give your number yet.
Sorry.
We've now established that you have the health and the wealth 50% knocked out.
Yeah.
So we're going to get you on some smoothies and get you off the Mickey D's and the AM.
Definitely need to try that.
Absolutely. But if someone wants to contact you to even discuss home inspections, go over pricing, go over what you think they need, how would they get in contact with you?
It's 727-637-2591.
And we're going to lead off after the break with Miss Jala talking about what inspections are important that can get you discounts on certain things after you close. And I appreciate everyone listening in. Don't forget to download the iHeartRadio app. You can listen to us while you're in the shower, while you're doing laundry. If you don't want to listen to someone around you, pop your earbuds in. We're going to be much more fun and exciting. Tune in after the break. Thanks for listening.
The biggest win, I think, with the dual path and having these two models is that now we become a brokerage for everyone. No matter where you are in your real estate career or what your goals are today, maybe today you're not interested in recruiting or having a team, but then one day you wake up and you are. Well, if you're at the wrong brokerage to do that, you're locked in. Where in our model, we're not holding anyone hostage. We're not tying anyone in. You can move between the different comp plans and have that success and really achieve whatever your definition of success is under one brokerage platform, being LPT.
Welcome back to the LPT Realty All-Stars radio show. I am your host today, Betsy Tinervin with Tampa Bay Investments. We have Mr. Johnny Thompson, who is a licensed inspector, has an entire construction background. We're super blessed to have him as a vetted vendor that we use to service all of our clients and make sure that they are protected in the front of the transaction as well as the back. And then Miss Katrina Mosley, who is all things health and wealth. She's just amazing. And again, if you missed the beginning of the show, I'm like the Simba and she's like the lion. Oh, because everything she does is just like manifested and internal and great. And like when she walks in a room, this energy is real. And she's also an amazing LPT realtor who has a little team. And I know that that's going to build and develop and grow. And I'm so happy to like be a part of that process with her. But right now, for all of you guys out there, I think we've touched on a couple great things, what it's like to be an entrepreneur, what it's like to kind of have a real estate business right now. And then Johnny tapped in with him being a small business in our community too. And just how it's a struggle to have work-life balance. We touched on the factor that Miss Jala and Miss Katrina can represent a buyer for free. And they will do the whole 411, man. And so with part of that process comes you, Mr. Johnny.
Yes, ma'am.
And we want to get inspections done. We want to get inspections done for buyers so they can have a multitude of, I don't know, a surplus, not a multitude, a surplus of information so they can properly look at cost of a property, CapEx that they may have to invest into it and be prepared, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then we also have to do it for lending, correct, Jala?
Yes.
So we have different loans. We have an FHA loan, we have a VA loan, we have a conventional loan, we have a commercial loan. So what happened in our little fun transaction with the FHA loan that we didn't have the right paperwork on?
Well, we technically had the right paperwork. I mean, with the FHA, you do need to have a 4-point wind mitigation and a WDO, so wood destroying organism report. And with our situation, we did have a wood destroying organism report, and we sent it to the first lender, and they were okay with, you know, whatever that was on there. And then after we switched to the second lender, that was when 24 hours, they didn't look at it. They had it for an entire month, but they didn't look at it until 24 hours before closing. And that's when they decided, nope, we need some type of treatment. We need this, and that.
It was crazy. Like, Johnny, this is crazy. Okay, so on a WDO report, for everyone listening, here's where like the forms are they're not right. Because it says, listen, it says not, it's just not right. Like, I can totally say this publicly because a WDO inspector checks visible, but that doesn't mean they're live.
Sure.
Right.
So it's confusing because basically this report said that there was no live termites, but there was like visible frass. Well, Johnny, come on, man. Any house built in St. Petersburg that's wood frame prior to 1970 is going to have termite frass. Yes or no?
Oh, yeah. When I have clients that they, you know, obviously I'm not a WDO inspector, but I let them know, hey, looks like there's a little bit of damage up in the attic. And people, especially people from out of state, freak out about it. I'm like, listen, 80% of the homes I inspect have some sort of termite damage. Doesn't mean it's live. It could have been from 40 years ago, and it's just the same way it was then.
And I always do suggest, and me and Jala agreed, that properties do need treated. If you have wood frame house in Florida, this is my opinion, you need to treat for termites.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and there's dry wood and subterranean. So like you need to treat for termites and make sure that preventatively, like you cannot even own a house in Florida and not have pest control monthly or bi-monthly. Yeah. You're going to have spiders and crickets and frogs and bugs. I remember I seen those water bug things when I first got here from Illinois and I said, oh my God, that's the biggest roach I've ever seen in my entire life. And they're like, Betsy, it's not a roach. It's like a water bug that like ate other water bugs and now is like ginormous and gonna bite me.
So it's a mutant water bug.
Yes. So I didn't have like pest control at the house I bought in 2015, and my friends that I met down here like, Betsy, what are you doing? I'm like, there's bugs everywhere. Yeah, in Illinois we didn't have that because it freezes, right? So here we have no freeze, we have no frost, so we have these bugs. So back to, we got on a tangent, but all of that was relevant. So back to these inspections, basically, Jala, touching base on what we said, anyone needs a realtor to connect them with a lender to decide what the loan that fits them and whatever property they're buying best, and then know what inspections are required, right?
Yeah, most certainly. And also with FHA, you can purchase more than one property. Like you can use FHA loan multiple times. It's not like most people think you can only use the FHA once and then you can't use it again. But like with it, the way it works is it needs to be your primary residence for 1 year. And then you can purchase another property after that year with FHA again. So, I mean, it just depends on what situation you're in and what finances works best for you. But you can start building your investment properties all through an FHA loan.
And Miss Katrina, have you worked with a lot of VA clients?
I've worked with a few. Yeah, I actually accepted a VA client on the property that I sold. That was my primary residence. So yeah, those are interesting. You know, there's some myths around VA loans that once you get into them, you really fully understand. And, you know, the right thing to do, my husband's a huge supporter of vets and he just has a deep heart for them. So there's some complications that go down. You're going to need to spend some money in taking the transaction. But when you look at it, sometimes it's beneficial. It's the best. I don't think there's anything to shy away with VA loans. Just know what you're getting into with the reports they expect and what the VAs can pay for and what they're not paying for.
For sure. And I think that going back to inspections, Johnny, with FHA and VA, you have to have those proper reports. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes us real estate agents end up doing everyone's job. And we have to focus on working with you, the proper documents. So explain a 4-point.
4-point is your 4 major components: your electrical, HVAC, plumbing, and roof.
Explain a wind mid.
Wind mitigations that's when you get the credits, hurricane credits. So it depends if your roof is attached with clips, straps, or toenails, which is literally just nails. Your roof, the shape of your roof, the geometry, if it's a hip, if it's a gable. If you have impact windows, impact doors.
And you get discounts on your insurance because basically the more sound and structurally sound the roof is, you document that on the wind mit, and then the realtor submits that to the insurance agent. And then there's some discounts for those really cool clips.
Yeah, exactly.
The clips are everything, right?
Yep. The clips
like that's the jam.
Oh, yeah.
Clips and straps. For anyone just tuning in, that's what we're on today.
Clips and straps, baby.
Clips and straps. Strap that roof down. So I think that it's important, right? And I think it's so important to be educated in all these different facets of a real estate transaction. So back to kind of Jala and Katrina, what do you guys look for? Like, what is a quality that you look for when you're vetting out a home inspector?
Well, I think experience. Not just years, but what is his experience and what is his specialty, right? Not knowing one inspector for everything, but kind of what do they enjoy doing? What do they... So that's my calling them and getting to know them, building a relationship with them. How do they interact with the client?
Do you help your client pick the inspector?
If they don't know an inspector, absolutely. I'm going to give them 3 of the top that I work with.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
And Jala, what do you ask inspectors?
So I don't really ask. I wouldn't say I wouldn't ask, but I guess like I'm a very visual person. So like I see how they do their job, essentially. Some of them, like, look, if an inspector walks into a house and they're done in 30 minutes, what did you expect?
That's a problem.
That is a major problem. And I think it's crazy that like we see this in our industry all the time. I think you definitely should trust your real estate agent for anyone buying or selling a home. I also think on the back end, it's really important. I sold my personal home before it became a seller's market, and I got like $85,000 more than what I thought it was valued at because I did a pre-inspection, Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a great thing to have an inspector come in your home. And this was prior to you and I meeting, but having them come in your home and say, these are all the things that a buyer is going to see.
Yeah.
And I also think when you correct those issues and attach it as a listing agent, Katrina and Jala, to then your listing, buyers see that are coming from California, coming from New York, coming from Illinois, coming from out of state to purchase real estate here sight unseen. It gives them a level of comfortability. And as an agent, then we have done our due diligence and we can be like, hey, it's not just our opinion. It's not just the seller's opinion as the listing agent or the seller. We actually have a document here. So if anybody wants to contact you, Johnny, for all things inspection or straps and whatever
Clips
we're
and
doing
straps.
with clips and straps with roofs, how do they get a hold of you, man?
It's Soho Inspections, 727-637-2591.
And Miss Katrina Mosley, I think you should do lifestyle consulting on the side too. So I'm putting this out there now for anyone on the radio show. If they want lifestyle consulting or any real estate, especially in the Carrollwood area, how do they get a hold of you?
813-210-0633.
And Miss Chawla, for anything investing, flipping, all the above, what's your number?
813-770-8699.
Thank you so much for listening today. We've had a great show thus far. We look forward to seeing you after the break. Don't forget to download the iHeartRadio app. See you shortly. Welcome back to the LPT Realty Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinervin with Tampa Bay Investments. So honored to be here with 2 amazing LPT realtors. And then Johnny Thompson with Soho Inspections. Johnny, I have to ask where that name came from.
Honestly, I have to give credit. My ex-wife came up with it.
I know. So Soho Inspections.
The Southern Hospitality. And then I was like, this name is so long. And she's like, let's go with Soho. And I was like, okay.
So why Southern Hospitality?
You know, the more I drink, the more Southern drawl kind of comes out of me a little bit, and I'm always
That's great.
I'm always very respectful, and so
Can you practice right now the Southern drawl?
Yeah, Can't practice it.
Somebody have a beer?
Yeah.
Give me a shot of whiskey. It'll start coming out all right.
Okay, well, next time I'm going to hold you to that, man.
That sounds good.
So that's awesome. We really appreciate you being here. Your company and all the other inspectors that we use out there really holds a lot of weight in our transactions.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm so glad we've touched on a couple things. We've touched on 4-point wind mitt. We've touched on clips and straps on roof. I just love saying that. That's going to be my new jam. Clips and straps. So we've touched on all that good stuff. We've touched a little bit on why you're important for buyers, why you're also important for sellers and maximizing the value of their homes. So that's great. We also talked from you, Miss Katrina and Jala, about how to interview an inspector properly to kind of vet them out and figure out what's important. What about the licensing, Johnny? Like, you have to have a license to be a home inspector. Dude, I love you. Yes, you have to have a license.
Yeah, it's not an easy process at all. I actually went to school, I believe it was 8 years ago now. Met 2 guys in school. We're still friends to this day. And it's not easy. One of the guys actually went to UF and he didn't pass the test the first 3 times. It's just not an easy test.
Do they test you on clips and straps?
They do test you on clips and straps. It's part of it, which I luckily passed that part.
Thank you. I'm so glad to know our wind mitts are A1.
Oh, always.
Okay. That's awesome. I think that's great. I think that like holding a license is phenomenal. I think actually learning there's a lot when it comes to home
A
inspections.
tremendous amount. Yeah. And on top of, to kind of touch base what you're saying with them about, vetting a home inspector, 50% of our job is doing the inspection. The other 50% is people skills. You have to know how to talk to the clients. You can't scare people. You can't scare the agent. You can't scare the client. A lot of it is really
such
people
a
skills.
great point that you're bringing up.
Yeah.
Katrina and Jala, please tell me that you have seen home inspections that are 151 pages long.
538, yeah.
And then it literally says like small
tile.
dent in grout on the upper left tile,
It's
2
absurd.
inches from the tub spout.
Yes.
It's like,
they
what do you do
needed
with that?
something
Like,
to
what do you
write.
want us to do
I'm
with
like,
that?
the house was built in 1956. Thank God that it's
Yeah.
only shipped grout, right?
Yeah.
So, Johnny, what is important and what's not important? And then Katrina and Jala, let's talk about cosmetic versus non-cosmetic stuff. So go, Johnny, go.
Yeah. Some of the things I've seen I've seen other inspection reports, and it's like you said, there's a million pages of just nonsense. Realtors will send things to me like, can you look at this? And I'm like, I don't even know what this means. I don't know why they're reporting any of this stuff. None of this needs to be in the report. If there's not an issue, you don't need to say, hey, this is okay, and then write about it. There's nothing to write about. Like, just keep it plain and simple. These are the facts. This is what it is.
And I think that also gives a client perception, right? If you are in California, relocating to Florida, you can't physically be here,
Right.
and you get a document that's 151
It scares you
pages,
right out of the gate.
You're like, oh my God.
What is this? Yeah, you're scared before you even open the thing because you're wondering why it's so big.
And then it's hard to assess a piece of paper, right? So
Yeah.
if I see an issue in a bathroom, I want to know bones. Is my foundation good? Are my bones good? And then the major things like the 4 points,
Yep.
plumbing, electrical, HVAC. What's
Roof.
the roof?
Yep.
God, I almost left on my roof. So plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and roof. I want to know those are my big ticket items, right?
yeah.
What else is important that people don't think about?
I mean, pretty much those are obviously the main things because those are what's going on the insurance reports, and that's what they focus on. But I mean, it's all very relevant. I mean, you really want to know what's going on with the house just in general. So even if you go to the seller, say, hey, these are things I want to get fixed. Even if they don't fix them, now you know what you're walking into. Now you have this list. Here's a summary. When you get into that house, these are things that you'll have to address once you get in there.
And then, Katrina, do you go over the report with your clients?
I do. I think the report is basically a story about the house and how it was cared for or not cared for. So, it's their responsibility, but it is my scope of practice to connect them with it and explain anything that I may know about it. But I'm always going to refer it back to the inspector. And I work with a lot of inspectors who do build relationships with the client and who are willing to pick up the phone and have that face-to-face or walkthrough of here. So I think that's an added benefit because that inspector becomes part of a team player in the whole transaction. So it's good to have them explain the story. But yeah, I'd go through it not line by line, but over
And
the
what
story.
I look at, Jala, this is so funny, and Johnny, you're definitely gonna laugh. The first thing I do is I look up at the return beds because if they're nasty and black and their ceiling fans are like covered in dust, because you can walk into like a multi-million-dollar house and you look at those vents and you know, like, you have not been changing that filter, because here in Florida, friends, your AC is like your Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
It needs oil changes, it needs massages, because if that HVAC system goes out, Johnny, what is it like here?
Oh, you're done.
It's terrible. And I think that what Katrina just said is such a good point. Like, one of the reasons why I look at those vents is because it tells me whether they're caring and servicing. It's like your house is like your car.
Yeah.
And you have to service it. So I think that looking at those little things, Jala, do you have anything that you like look at that people wouldn't think about?
I mean, I honestly look at a lot of details when I walk into the house. Look at ceiling stains. I mean,
that's a great one.
Huge one. Like, was there like water coming down from the ceiling? Like, that's signs of the roof being, damaged or whatever at some point. Besides that, I mean, in the kitchen, I look for bugs. I look for all types of like little things. Like, is this house infested with bugs? Like, have they been doing their pest controls? I mean, because that's really important. That ultimately goes right back into the termite stuff too. You definitely want to have termite done throughout the house here in Florida. It's 100%. Hot. Outside of that, I mean, just structure wise, cracks. Like, do you see cracks anywhere? Anything that could, potentially be structural stuff. But obviously, that's stuff that you want to leave for the inspector, to inspect on and make sure you're getting a report.
100%. I think that as real estate agents, prior to an inspection, when you're doing a walkthrough, like what I do, Johnny, is I definitely open up underneath all the sinks.
Oh, yeah.
I look to see if there's PVC plumbing under there.
Run
the water to see if, we can do all of those preventative things prior to an inspection. Let me spin a little game, because this is like a huge thing that people don't always look at. Is one, they don't go find the electrical panel. Like, real estate agents don't go find the electrical panel. Like, go find the panel, see if there's cloth wiring around it. Like, you don't have to be an inspector to actually look at those things.
Check the name brand
prior to that. And then obviously water heater, AC, and then the stain thing. Like, that's pretty awesome. Like, I always look up at the ceilings, look for stains, check the vents, check the ceiling fans. I think all of those are critical things that as realtors, we should be looking at the initial walkthrough before our clients are spending money on inspections and doing those things. Do you guys agree?
Yes, absolutely. Because you can tell what year your AC is. It's usually in the model or serial number. And then same with the water heater. So if you know that AC is like 15 years old, you know that it's going to need replacement. So that reflects on the offer that you're going to be giving. And just like you said, having that inspection report prior to that, it does make those clients feel comfortable. But at the same time, you know what you're walking into. Like, hey, we're going to need about $10,000, $20,000 of repairs. Like, should we offer $20,000 over just to try to win this house over? Like, is it worth it? So like, we're in that market where we are offering, we have been offering a lot over the asking price. And one of those things to put into consideration is, what do you need to fix, and how much is that going to cost you?
100%. And I think that that's like amazing that like the three of us, at least, are realtors that will go above and beyond for our clients and make sure that we are doing our due diligence up front, and then involve someone like Johnny in the transaction, because there is a lot with inspection, appraisal, and all these fees. Today has been a phenomenal show. I've had a really good time with you guys. I'm really excited for this whole LPT adventure with everybody. The coolest thing for me that has just been really awesome is just all the people. I think that the agents make the brokerage, and I think that that starts with leadership, and Robert Palmer and his executive staff have done an amazing job just kind of recruiting the right people. And so anyone out there looking to buy or sell real estate or potentially invest in the Tampa Bay area can call Miss Jala
at 813-770-8699.
And anyone looking for a lifestyle coach, I'm going to pimp her out, man.
Yeah,
I'm promoting it because I love that. Health and wealth. And then also all things real estate. You've had a team. You've done phenomenal, off the chart amount of transactions yourself, and especially specialize in Carrollwood. How can they get a hold of you, Miss Katrina?
813-210-0633.
And Mr. Johnny Thompson with Soho Inspections. Thank you to his ex-wife for the name. We love you so much. We've done tons of business with you. We appreciate you. How can someone get in touch with you?
It is 727-637-2591.
And wrapping up a amazing show, The Raw and the Real of Real Estate. I am your host, Betsy Tinervin. We appreciate you listening. Please download the iHeartRadio app and continue to listen. We love our followers, our listeners, and our fans. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined. We hope this episode motivated and inspired you. And don't forget to rate and review us. Thanks again for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast with Betsy Tinnervin.